Hi folks, yesterday I referenced two major astrological events that were occurring today. Today, Pacific time, California time is February the 16th of 2020. Mercury goes retrograde in a few hours while I'm recording this. And earlier today at about 3:33 a.m. Pacific time, Mars entered the sign of Capricorn. And it's the Mars in Capricorn entry and transit that this video is about. And it's an important transit because the eclipse cycle that we're in currently is in the sign of Capricorn, even if it doesn't necessarily feel that way. So let me give you some dates and let me give you some information that I think is going to be useful first, and then we'll talk about Mars in Capricorn. The solar eclipse in Capricorn occurred on the 25th of December, Christmas Day, 2019, California time. And that was a solar eclipse. The corresponding lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse is a new moon solar eclipse, and the corresponding lunar eclipse, full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, is on July the 4th, 2020. So January the 25th, as I have talked about this before, to July the 4th is one arc. And February 25th, the week before, week after, which is where we are at right now, the week before February 25th, the 25th date, and May the 4th are also important markers. The week before, week after, I'm not talking about a huge wide orb. The solar eclipse in Capricorn, there are eclipses of, as I've explained here before, for lack of a better way of describing it, eclipses that you're meant to lean into, direction you're meant to go, where the boat of life is going, and then there are eclipses of release, where you're holding on to something that is preventing the boat from moving forward. And the Capricorn eclipses are eclipses of release. They're made more complicated by the fact that currently we have multiple transits in Capricorn. We have Jupiter in Capricorn that is creating an ending and a new beginning, a 12-year, restarting a 12 to 13-year cycle. We have Saturn in Capricorn in its final year here. Saturn briefly between March and July, really I should say April and July, well, March and July goes into Aquarius, sort of announcing its entry, but then is back in Capricorn for the rest of this year till December of 2020. And in December 2020, both Jupiter and Saturn pretty much together within days move into the sign of Aquarius. So Capricorn currently has not only the eclipses of release, it also has Jupiter, and I have a separate video on Jupiter in Capricorn that you can search out. New beginnings, endings, wherever Capricorn sits in your chart. And then you have Saturn in Capricorn that is working hard to determine what is right for you and working hard to pressure you to eliminate patterns and behaviors and create boundaries that are right for you and will help you meet and maximize your potential. And wherever Saturn is, a certain amount of hard work is required. And with Jupiter and Capricorn, as I mentioned in that video, you can't really rely on luck to save the day. You have to work for your luck. So it's a strange mixture of planetary influences, some of which require us to actively engage in this area, while there is also a prevailing sense of having to leave something behind that has become a strength, has become a crutch, but has outworn its purpose. And if we hold on to it for too long, it prevents the boat of life from moving forward and from us experiencing the sort of kind of magic and serendipity and synchronicity of forward movement and of things coming together and happening. So December the 25th, we had the solar eclipse. And as I said, July the 4th, we have the lunar eclipse, with February 25th and May the 4th being important dates that give us some clues and signs. The reason why this eclipse has become a little muddled is because on January the 10th, we had a lunar eclipse in Cancer, closing out the Cancer eclipses of leaning into that had started in July 2019. And that was an active and important eclipse. And then we've had all these planetary energies in the signs of Sagittarius and Aquarius that have been welcome distractions, but also a buildup of planets and increasing intensity in the sign of Pisces, where Mercury goes retrograde today. So the eclipse, the Capricorn eclipse, has not really had its full, has not really been able to make its presence felt. Well, that is going to change from today. And indeed, as we head towards July the 4th, it will become increasingly important. You can have 2 or 3 cycles of eclipses in the same sign. And we had a set of eclipses from about January the 5th of 2019 to July the 16th of 2019. That was the first set of Capricorn eclipses. January 5th of 2019 to July 16th, 2019. Phase 1, the first eclipse wave, and this is the second one and the final one. So whatever it is that you are meant to release, whatever crisis is going to be created that is somehow coupled with, and folks with Capricorn in prominent parts of that chart, you know, have really felt it. You know, if you Capricorn ascendant, the change. Pluto is in Capricorn. For a while, there's been a change in the works, but with Saturn's entry in December 2017, and then the eclipses starting to act up around July or July 2018, but particularly the first half of 2019, and then Jupiter's entry in December of 2019 to usher things along. We're in that place where the message is, all right, let's finish up this work in Capricorn this year. We've got to get this done and taken care of. So these eclipses, the solar eclipse in Capricorn and the lunar eclipse in Capricorn, are important. They just haven't had a chance to make their presence felt. And it hasn't been that long. I mean, it is just February the 16th. So when we're talking about the full moon in Cancer on January the 10th is distracting us from the Capricorn eclipses, and when we're talking about planetary buildup, we're talking about a month or so of energies that have taken priority. Now, starting today, the helpful energies that have been helping to mitigate some of the intensity of the eclipses and the full moons that we've had, or the Pisces energy, there's been activity in Sagittarius. Mars has been in Sagittarius till today, and there's been activity in Aquarius. Normal, annual, cyclical transits. Helpful, positively distracting, hopefully some positive impacts and positive effects in those areas. In addition, we've had a pretty forward movement momentum January and February. That changes now, and as I've explained in my Mercury transit video, Mercury in Pisces video, and in the retrograde video I did yesterday, we do have periods of forward movement that are very, very compressed, but then we have what feel like extended periods of retrogrades to catch up with that energy of pushing us forward. And we are now starting this kind of retrograde energy that is complex, but is there. And then by the time we get to the middle of March and April till the beginning of May, we're going to have our next spurt of forward movement. So we are, as we've been pushed through some sort of birth canal, as we've pushed through some sort of forward movement, we are now starting a period of having to figure out what else needs to adjust in order to accommodate this forward movement. And by the time you get to the middle of March, and by the time you're in April, you will be pushed forward again into something. So be willing to play catch up in Pisces. And there are 2 videos, a Mercury in Pisces video already on my channel, and a compass video I did yesterday that will help you with that. So the planetary energies now become focused in the sign of Capricorn, with Mars's presence there, and Pisces. The Pisces energies are more complex and arguably draining and confusing. The Mars energy in Capricorn, Mars has actually been a very, very helpful planet recently, because its transits in Scorpio and Sagittarius and now Capricorn they will distract us from heavier tasks at hand, but perhaps in a welcome way. I would argue that Mars's transit in Sagittarius since the beginning of January, whatever's been going on in the Sagittarius portion of your chart, has been helpful and a joy. I had a Mars in Sagittarius video titled Joy on this channel, has been a source of, in the middle of all the Capricorn and Cancer and Pisces heaviness, helpful to have another part of the chart to focus on. Mars is the male planet, as I've explained in these videos. Wherever Mars is, a fair amount of our energy is going to be directed in. It is our energy planet. You know, it is, the glyph is this arrow, and it is where we shoot our arrows to, it's where we do the work, it's where we hunt and gather, and where we go out to achieve and meet our goals, kind of in a single-minded way. It is the male testosterone planet, so assertiveness, drive, action, tasks, work, think of that arrow hitting the bullseye, wherever that bullseye is. You know, your to-do lists, your tasks, action, activity, yang energy. The assertiveness can turn into aggression with Mars. It is the testosterone planet, and there can be accidents, or there can be a certain amount of aggression and arguments and combat too. Mars is the god of war. It is the red planet, and often where Mars goes, I ask people to watch for bleeding or cuts or accidents or hits or hurts. So if you have Capricorn in your third house, for example, be careful. It can increase a certain amount of rashness. The other thing about Mars is that either you have been waiting to take care of certain tasks wherever Capricorn is in your chart, and now that Mars enters Capricorn, you will find that you have the time in the opening to go ahead and put these things in your calendar and get them done. So if Capricorn is in a health portion of your chart and you've been meaning to go see the doctor, things may clear up and you may finally have the energy to go make some of those appointments happen. Sometimes with the Mars transit, it is external events that force us to address things. So it could also be that a health crisis appears that now forces you to take action. Whatever that is, it will help you to know where Mars is in your chart, so you can determine, is it in the health portion? Is it in the marriage and relationship portion? Is it in the contracts and legal affairs portion? Is it in the shared resources portion? Is it in my income portion? Is it in my first house, my home or land or residence portion, the fourth house? Is it in the career sector? It helps to know where it is, because you will know that over the next 6 weeks, no matter what is going on in Pisces, and there's stuff going on in Pisces, and you will be focused on that, and that will be distracting. For the next 6 weeks, Mars comes in here to meet up with Jupiter and Pluto and the South Node and accelerate the eclipse work. This week and next week become important to pay attention to, because it's February 25th, the week before, week after, but Mars is also entering right on cue, and the Capricorn eclipse will make its presence felt. What needs to be released, what needs to be worked on, where do boundaries need to be placed, what patterns and behaviors need to be released, where are new beginnings occurring in the middle of all this. Where Capricorn is, as I have mentioned before, is where I have seen the forest fire in the chart for a while, for about a good 2 years, 2.5 years, if not longer. And this is the year with Jupiter's entry that we start to see, and Saturn's ultimate departure, we start to see the forest fire die out. It's not over yet, and we start to see shoots of green appear in the ground. And Mars's entry accelerates that process somehow. Some of the tasks are going to be short-term, some of the tasks are going to involve getting things done on your to-do list, and some of the tasks are going to be part of a larger, longer transformation or cycle. Mars is exalted and happy in Capricorn. Capricorn is a driven, practical, achievement-oriented sign. Mars is a driven, achievement-oriented planet. And some of its aggression and some of its rashness is curbed by the sign of Capricorn in a positive way. It really is, Mars in Capricorn is really, it can be at its most mature, can be at its most, the willpower is there, and the strength is there, and the desire is there, and the resilience is there. That's the word. The resilience and the maturity and the presence and the self-possession is there to single-mindedly focus on what needs to be done, and practically and thoroughly and decidedly and resiliently get that done. And we are going to find this activity helpful. Some of what needs to be released, or health crisis, those kinds of crises that force Mars to act, external crises or external events that force Mars to act aren't welcome necessarily, but they will be a welcome distraction, a welcome area of focus from all the Pisces murkiness and heaviness with the Mercury retrograde and the new moon that's going to come up on February the 23rd, and that particular energy that takes us into March and April as well. It's the middle of February. At the end of March, Mars will, beginning of April, end of March really, Mars will enter Aquarius. So we have about 6 weeks. We have about 6 weeks of the Capricorn eclipse making its presence felt, and I think we're ready for it. There's work that needs to be done. There are things that need to be released. There are actions wherever Capricorn is in your chart. They're goals that need to be taken care of, and there's an acceleration. Think of Mars as a firefighter that is coming in to really try and handle this forest fire and accelerate the process of greening and growth. So whatever it is that needs to be done in this part of your chart, Mars will be able to help you do that, and actually might require you to do that. Wherever Mars is, you cannot ignore it. You will not ignore it. You won't be able to ignore it. A certain portion of our energy is going to go into this part of our chart. So if you know where Capricorn sits in your chart, what house it occupies, and what that house stands for, we're here. And I've given you various eclipse dates to try and correlate and make sense of what has been happening in this part of the chart. It's been dormant in January until now, but it's not going to be. You know, some part, the Capricorn and the Pisces parts of the chart are, even though Mercury retrograde, even though Pisces will see its reprise and a bit of a relief by the time you get to the middle of March, Mars comes in to Pisces then as the summer rolls on. So these two parts of the chart are going to be pretty actively involved. And the Capricorn part of the chart, the intensity is only going to increase. By the end of March, Mars will be done, but then May the 4th will come up about a month after that. And from then on, we're headed to that full moon lunar eclipse on July the 4th. So that particular eclipse doesn't turn into a full-blown crisis of release, try to take the actions that you need to take over the next 6 months to understand what your goals are. This is the advice I will give you. Understand what your goals are, where Capricorn sits in your chart, and act on them. And enjoy and welcome the distraction of acting on them in the middle of the Pisces craziness that you're going to experience in the middle of everything else. Okay? If you found this video, and as I said, Mars in Capricorn in general, if you're someone who says, I don't know my chart, I don't know my birth time, what do I take away from this video? I would say, even though Mercury is retrograde, even though for the past 24 hours and the next 24 to 48 hours, it may feel like some part of your life has this kind of standstill, I need to go back and reevaluate things quality. This is not an inactive Mercury retrograde. This is an active Mercury retrograde. And Mars in Capricorn the next 6 weeks is a fantastic time to get things done. Organize yourself, understand what your priorities are, understand what your goals are. If you don't know where Capricorn is, don't worry about it. Understand what your goals are and what is in front of you, and be in integrity about them, and act in integrity with them, and go out there and shoot some arrows and hit some bullseyes and get them done. Mars in Capricorn, as I said, is a cleaner, less aggressive energy, less bull in a china shop energy than Mars can sometimes be in other signs. So welcome that. Get self-possessed, get focused. But Mars and Capricorn will both give you the resilience and the drive and the determination. And, you know, woe betide anyone that becomes an obstacle at this time to some extent. You may not meet them with out-and-out aggression, but you will meet them with determination and with resilience. Okay? So I think it's welcome. You know, I think we're ready. I think we're ready at this part in the year with the January and the February that we've had so far to take control. Whether some of this control is around investigating whatever we need to investigate in Pisces, and there are 2 other videos on that, one from yesterday that you should check out so you get clear and attuned to those energies, so that even if Mercury is in retrograde in another part of the chart, Mars in Capricorn, the primary focus is one of whether you're investigating or whether you're executing, to welcome a time when you can pull out your notepad, make your to-do list, and start to action things and get things done and put things in place, so that by the time you get to the middle of March and we are ready for the next round of growth and forward movement and pushing and new tasks and new energies and new things being introduced in our lives, we have spent about 6 weeks to get certain things taken care of and put them in their place so that we're ready for that growth spurt, whether it is by dealing with things from the past, where Pisces is, or whether it is actively catching up with and actively executing on things that we need to address and create new beginnings in and endings in and release that have been with us for a while. Enough said. If you found this video useful, feel free to like it, share it, communicate about it, talk about it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button in YouTube to be notified when I do new videos. And my contact information, email address is in the description area, so you can email me. You can email me if you would like to inquire about rates for readings, or you want me to make you an easy to read version of your chart that will be helpful to you as you follow along with these videos or other videos, or just to have. All right, that's it, and I will be back soon. Thanks.